meeting on a day respect the law to their own hands. But these happenings, these tensions, also show that can you hear me? Honorable members, can you hear me?
You are not clear, Chairperson.
I hear you clearly. Can you hear me now?
Yes, but slightly better.
Much better.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm just saying that the tension in Senegal shows that as a country, we still have many unresolved matters which we need to resolve without waste of time, because we have to make sure that there is peace in our land, there is social cohesion, and so on. And this committee is dealing with yet another very sensitive matter, which must be concluded as speedily as possible, so that all South Africans can be assured that they have a in this beautiful land. So today we have two on the agenda, hearings, logistics. You will recall that we at the last agenda, there were two outstanding matters that we had to deal with, and or not, we consider accommodating people with mobility, and we agreed that we will seek a legal advice, and a legal advice has come to hand, and then we will ask the administrators to give us a report as to what that legal advice says. And there was also in the Western Cape, and Northern, we should ask for the public hearings, and we will hear also from the administrators whether that is doable or not, because we had to deal with okay. Hello, Sisanda. Sisanda.
Good afternoon, Chairperson. Hello, I can hear you, Chairperson.
Is that Sisanda?
Yes, it is correct, Chairperson.
Yes. Yes, can you take us through the proposed agenda?
Chairperson, it is not in front of me currently. What I'm seeing before me is the program. Okay, Chairperson, I see it now. The proposal agenda.
No, yeah.
Yes, sorry, Chairperson, I just had to slide the screen. Now I'm seeing the agenda. It's two
Okay.
items, Chairperson, as you have clearly said. The first item being the finalization of the public hearings and draft program. And then the second item is the report on the public hearings logistics. I see, Chairperson, that the legal advice or legal opinion feedback, which you have just referred to, it's not listed under the agenda. But I see
I think
Mr. Romano has joined the meeting,
think that
and
arise-
those are the two. Sorry, Chair.
who has joined the meeting?
I see Mr. Romano has joined the meeting, Bonani, who are the
Oh,
secretariat who have prepared the agenda and the draft program on behalf of the committee.
Okay. I think the question of the legal advice arises from the previous meeting. As I said, we had to ask for a legal opinion to check whether we can accommodate people that have health challenges. If we can then get a report on what the lawyers are saying. And then the second matter was whether or not it is feasible to include two other venues in the Western Cape and additional venues in Northern Cape. So I would request that when the Secretariat makes a decision, they address those two issues. Advocate Romano.
Yes,
can you proceed?
Chairperson?
Yes.
No, I couldn't follow you. I've got network issues this side.
Okay, I'm saying that we adopted at our last meeting, we adopted a program, but there were outstanding issues. Those outstanding issues were whether or not it would be feasible to accommodate people who have health challenges. And we agreed to seek an opinion, a legal opinion. And secondly, whether we could include two additional venues in the Western Cape and the Northern Cape. And I'm saying that when we have to address those issues.
Chair, the legal services is in attendance. Maybe they can take the committee through their legal opinion.
Leading it from the legal opinion?
I'm saying the drafters of the opinion are here, so they can take the committee through.
Okay, I'm suggesting that they come on board and take us through.
Good afternoon, Chair.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Chair. I don't know if the legal opinion was circulated to the rest of the committee. Has it been circulated?
No, it's not.
No, it has not. No, it has not.
Now
Okay.
speak to-
Sorry, Chair.
Look, what we want basically is whether or not the legal opinion. Hello, Mrs. Haley. Mrs.
Yes,
Haley?
Chair. Yes, Chair.
The important thing are the conclusions of the legal opinion. Yeah, proceed. present the legal opinion.
Okay, I'm getting a lot of feedback from other parties.
So what? Yeah, can they switch off, please?
May I continue, Chair?
Yes, but proceed.
Okay, so I presume that everyone had a copy of the opinion, but I'm going to go through it as briefly as possible. The legal question, as the Chair pointed out, was that whether the public participation process would be discriminatory against persons with comorbidities who were not able to attend physical public hearings, and whether this would render the legislative process related to the amendment to the Section 25 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa unconstitutional. So as everyone is aware, under Alert Level 1, in terms of Regulation 69(5) of the regulations, gatherings at political events and the traditional council meetings are limited to 250 persons indoors and 500 persons or less outdoors. So basically what we did with the legal opinion is we took members through the various governing constitutional provisions relating to public participation, namely Section 59 and Section 72 of the Constitution. And then we dealt with the four very important cases that created the interpretive precedent around public participation, namely the Matatiel judgment, the Doctors for Life judgment, the New Clicks judgment, and then also the Lamosa judgment. The Constitutional Court had provided guidance with regards to public participation and the nature and the duty of the National Assembly to facilitate public involvement in the legislative process. And without going through to too much detail regarding the various precedents set by each of these judgments, the crux of the matter is that in measuring whether Parliament has met its obligation of facilitating public involvement, the Constitution demands that the public must be afforded meaningful chance of participation in the legislative process. So what matters at the end of the day is a reasonable opportunity to be afforded to members of the public and all interested parties to know the issues and to have an adequate say regarding those issues. Therefore, if we look at 59 and 72 of the Constitution, together with the various judgments that I had alluded to, the standard that needs to be applied in determining whether Parliament has met its constitutional obligation is reasonableness. We then go into the various factors that the courts will look at when they consider reasonableness. And these factors are the rules it has adopted for this purpose, the nature and importance of the legislation in question, the need for urgency in adopting that legislation. So we then looked at the various National Assembly rules that would be important to consider when looking at public involvement. National Rule, NA Rule 26 was mentioned, NA Rule 170, NA Rule 184. I think what is important to note is NA Rule 167B to D, which says for the purposes of performing its functions, a committee may, subject to the Constitution, legislation, and other provisions of these rules and resolutions, receive petitions, representations, or submissions from interested parties, permit oral evidence on petitions, and conduct public hearings. When we considered the interpretation of the statute, of the rules, of the precedent set by the Constitutional Court, it is clear that the power to determine how to involve the public in the legislative process depends on Parliament itself. We then, in our opinion, we then set out Parliament's current public participation model. The Parliament's current participation model provides a minimum requirement and guidelines involved in public participation. And the model itself involves 4 stages. The first stage is inform, which is provided at an opportunity for everyone to access their information. Then it's consult, which is providing an opportunity for input. The third stage is involve, which is providing an opportunity for dialogue and interaction. And then the fourth and final stage is feedback. We then provide feedback to the interested stakeholders. Stage 1, inform, and stage 2, consult have both been done. We are now currently at stage 3, involve. In our view, when applying the test in Doctors for Life, the current stages 1 and 2 definitely meet the constitutional muster and the test for reasonableness. We must then similarly consider the test set out in Doctors for Life when we consider a reasonable opportunity in the third stage, which, as I said, was involve. When considering reasonableness and when considering whether we have offered members of the public with comorbidities during the upcoming public hearings, we need to look at whether they have been given a meaningful chance to participate in the legislative process. With regards to the first stages, as I said, we have provided an equal opportunity. But during the third stage, the national state of disaster struck. And in fact, the national state of disaster has been extended. So now we're sitting with a dilemma of not more than 250 people can attend, and it is not advisable for people with comorbidities to attend these public hearings due to the risk of being exposed to COVID-19. In order to ensure that business as usual, the National Assembly then adopted rules dealing with virtual meetings and providing dealing with meetings and providing meetings of the committee. It is thus possible to accommodate persons who cannot attend the meetings via virtual meetings. And then more so, if you consider in a Rule 167B to D, it also further empowers the committee. So we therefore concluded that the committee's future actions to facilitate public involvement cannot be expected to be exactly the same as they were prior to March 2020 because of the following facts. The country is operating under abnormal circumstances. Secondly, the consideration of the legislation involved cannot be postponed until an uncertain date, as we don't know when the state of disaster would end, well, possibly may be extended. The National Assembly has rules that allow for the involvement of the public and has further adopted rules to ensure that the business of assembly will continue. In summation, as I've said, the first two stages of the public participation model have been completed and they meet the constitutional muster. The committee, however, must ensure that the third stage of the public participation model allows the public to have a reasonable opportunity to know the issues and have the adequate say. Therefore, in respect to how the logistics are best to achieve such an involvement, whether either virtual meetings or allowances from the submissions of written representation or allowances of any submissions, the committee is best advised by the committee support staff. So I guess, I mean, if I had to summarize things without going through the whole opinion again, the main focus would be reasonableness and whether the person with comorbidities joins a public hearing, whether a person with comorbidities either joins a public hearing virtually or sends a written submission, the test would be reasonableness. And that's what the Constitutional Court would consider. I hope I've tried to make it clear. It's very difficult with you not having the opinion in front of you, but I've tried to summarize it as much as possible, considering that the opinion is quite lengthy. Thank you, Chair.
No, Mrs. Laheli, I think you have done a sterling job as usual, and thank you very much because you have outlined, you know, the requirements that are very clear. And that's what the honorable members requested. Honorable members, there's a legal opinion which has been brilliantly presented as you requested. Are there any questions?
Chairperson, it's Werner Rohn.
Yes, yeah, proceed.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I don't have an issue per se with what has been presented. However, I'm of the view that the committee would be in the best position to engage with the legal opinion and to determine the way forward only once we've been in a position ourselves to study the legal opinion. So I don't know whether there is any reason why it's not been distributed to us, but I don't think it is an acceptable effect of us today if that is the intention to resolve this matter just based on a high level verbal presentation on the legal opinion. Thank you.
Any other input on the legal opinion?
Honorable Chairperson.
Yes.
Yes, I would like to say thank you very much.
Proceed, Dr. Milder.
Thank you, Chairperson. Now, I would like to start off by saying thank you very much for the legal opinion. And I hear what is being presented to us, but I think we should make very sure that we do not get into procedural problems. And I would really request that we do get a copy of that and be allowed to look and study the legal opinion before we can take any final decisions. Thank you.
Any other input? Any other?
Chair, it's the Lesoma Chair.
Yes, proceed.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair and colleagues, and let's appreciate the legal advice. To say probably if I've had the legal presentation as presented, seeks to suggest that we had three processes, or we're supposed to have three processes. One process, the first one was the
Honorable Lesoma.
We can't hear Ms. Listoma. We can't hear.
The start.
Honorable
My
Lesoma.
apology then. Let me repeat myself because I just want to get a. Can you hear me, Honorable Chair?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me,
I can
Honorable
hear you.
Chair?
I hope the other members hear you
Okay.
too.
Okay. I started by No, as long as you have had me, Chair, then you can summarize for them, unfortunately, so that I'll save time as well. I'm saying one is the we had written submissions which had the opening date and the closing date, which is the first leg. Second leg is what we are doing now in terms of physical public hearings, where also observing COVID-19 200 teacher or hall, if I may say that. But also the what in summary is being said is that our processes should be clinical and be separate from each other, so that you will say that you didn't allow us the dual process. I hope that's what is being said. It will help to get that written submission, but that one should not hold us in continuing with our public hearings in terms of the other issues that we're going to engage on, Chair. That's my point that I just wanted to raise, so that I also balance and legal person a presentation as it were, Chair. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
No, thank you. Honorable Mrs. Haley, I think save for the fact that members did not receive the written opinion, they are happy with the opinion, but they still want to receive it. But as Honorable Suma is saying, we can circulate that for the members' information, but that should not stop us from proceeding with the process. And I think we should leave the matters there and say that to the administrators, secretariat, please circulate the opinion immediately after this meeting. I did receive it. I don't know what went wrong, why others didn't, but that's not a train smash. But you have done a good job that has helped us to move forward. Now, the second outstanding issue was whether we should increase the venues in the Western Cape and in the Northern Cape. Can we hear that, Advocate Bonani? Advocate Bonani?
Chair, I think Bonani has got. Chair, it's our pilot.
Okay,
here.
on the Advocate Webu, yeah, can you address us on this matter, on the question, the doability or otherwise of additional venues?
Yes, Chair. We looked at the issue and then there was a view that it would be better not to increase venues and to stick to the original program as it was before we went into the state of disaster. So we reverted to that program, and we are going to remain with 3 district municipalities in the Northern Cape and 4 in the Western Cape, and again 4 in Limpopo. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, honorable members. I was also consulted by the secretary. I was also persuaded that if we start to take a view which says, say, for instance, in the Western Cape, we should go to all the districts. And the question would be, what would be the basis for not doing the same in all the districts? And that will raise other challenges with the secretariat, that we should not increase the number of the venues because if we do so and there are challenges, we may run out of time, and I don't think Parliament will give us another extension. We have to move forward. So the position is as presented, that in the Eastern Cape, we will not add the 2 venues, and so can I open the floor? Hello?
Chair?
Yes, proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, if I'm then understanding you correctly, you requested in one of the provinces that additional districts be covered. Then a member from...
It was a...
So let me conclude, Chair.
No, sorry, it was a recommendation. It was a recommendation by the DA, Dr. Lottery.
No, Chair.
Said, we shouldn't...
no, let me conclude, Chair, first. Let me conclude. I think initially you had asked, you had recommended that in one of the other provinces, and I'm not sure which, I think it may have been Limpopo, that we have additional districts because there were 1 or 2 districts that were left out. After you made your submission, the member from the DA then said that in order to be consistent, that we look at including all of the districts in the Western Cape as well. So my question is then the districts that you had wanted included, are those also going to be left out as well?
No, in Limpopo, it was not adding because there was an agreement that we keep to the original proposal. So in Limpopo, it was just the swapping of the venues because the other venue that we had to go to, there are security problems and also some tensions around land. The communities there have taken each other to court, and we felt that what will happen, they will see this process as coming to address their conflict. And if there is conflict, and we can end up having the reputation of Parliament being marred by community conflict. So it was really swapping the venues. We didn't add another venue.
Honorable Chair, if I may assist administratively. Okay.
Can I
Chair.
also be recognized, Chair?
Chair, can I request that the administration assist you because we have raised our chairperson. I just want to assist in terms of people to talk. That administration must assist you because in the platform we have raised their hands. There are a number of honorable members that raised their hands first before Honorable Wayne. So I'm saying Advocate Pallet must assist you. Yes. I'm saying Honorable Advocate Pallet must assist in terms of giving you the names of people who have raised their hands. It will help as well. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Oh, yes. Thank you very much. Okay. Advocate Pallet.
Chair, there is Honorable Mahlati, Dr. Mulder, and Honorable Murwatsesha raising their hands, and Honorable Hon.
Okay. Honorable Mahlati, proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me welcome the legal advice from our legal team in Parliament. However, I've got concerns in relation to issues of venues. I think they've closed up the issues of written submissions, but I've got concerns with venues. One, I must indicate that we never anticipated that there would be COVID-19. That will limit our people in as far as participation in these particular processes. Now, when you look at the Northern Cape specifically, all these other provinces that we've been to, we were able to cover a lot of areas, if not enough areas, but there was a mobility for people to move from one area to another. Given the Northern Cape, that has not had an opportunity, including Limpopo, to have more people participate in these particular processes. I do not, and I don't get the logic behind the reduction of venues, with specifically to Northern Cape. Why? Northern Cape has 5 districts, and we only opted for 3 districts. I remember when we were adopting the program, we discussed issues of Metsimaholo in relation to the Free State. But it was therefore coupled with, we were comfortable as a committee to say, let's leave Metsimaholo Sasolburg because Vereeniging is less than 100 kilometers because we went there. But with Northern Cape, that is way vast than any other province, with a population that has vast interest on the land question. And for us to say, given the circumstances, is there any other, besides the circumstances, is there any other logical reason that will not make us go to the Northern Cape? Or to add even at least 1 district, if possible, in as far as this process is concerned? Yes, we are in COVID-19. Yes, we did not anticipate this particular process, but this is a critical issue that we're dealing. It's not any ordinary bill that we're dealing with. We're dealing with a matter that has vast interest from all walks of life. To limit it to 3, I don't think we will be doing justice to the matter. And Chair,
thank you.
I still want to maintain, as I conclude, I still want to maintain the posture that we raised in the previous meeting, that ours was not an issue of time, issues of logistics, issues of anything, but to give ourselves an ample time to deal with issues of this particular bill, to allow people to participate meaningfully. We raise, for instance, Chair, let me get another, these venues that we're speaking about, do they accommodate 250 people with a space of 1.5 meters in between? Will they? And if that is the case, how best can we accommodate? Because I think all members of this particular committee agreed in principle that they do not have a problem with having 2 activities taking place in one day. What is how does this hamper in terms of the work that has been done? Besides the legal advice, yes, we do hear the legal legal advices. We need not if we do not want to, but the committee is saying we need to do this to make sure that there is meaningful public participation on the process. I don't think we necessarily have
I think you have proceed.
Okay, Chair. No, I'm saying what hampers from the logistical element, Chair, in relation to us accommodating extra towns. Because I don't think members of this committee have got a problem in working extra hours in the best interest of South Africans, in as far as this particular bill is concerned. Thank you very much, Chair.
I think you have eloquently made your points, Honorable Melder. Honorable Melder.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I've got 2 specific points. I do need some clarity. I'm not sure where we are now with the legal opinion. You've just now said that we take note of the opinion. It will be sent to members, but it's not going to hold us back. I don't want us to be held back. I just don't have clarity now. We haven't seen the legal opinion. We haven't been able to study that. What is the conclusion of that legal opinion? Does it mean that we are not going to take specific measures to accommodate people with comorbidities? Is that what we are saying to one another? I just need clarity in that regard. Then when I come to the second one with regard to the extra districts, in our previous meeting last week, Chairperson, you made the point that we need to add more districts, and the argument you used, you said, because if we exclude some districts, it may cause a technical problem where people may challenge the process and say that they were excluded. Today you are saying something else. Today you are saying that we have to revert back to the original program and that we are not going to include separate all the necessary districts as was requested and as was very eloquently argued just now. I understand the time constraint that we do have. Parliament has given us until the end of the year, but I'm really concerned that that shouldn't be in the final analysis, the thing that focuses our minds in terms of this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mzora.
Chairperson, thank you very much. We have heard the view from the legal experts, and one may not have much to say about that. But let me just go straight to the issue of programs. I mean, the program. Yes, it is true that the advice from the previous meeting, which was unanimously supported, was saying, rather than chopping and changing unnecessary, given this short period at our disposal, let's stick to our original program. That was the principle. And of course, if we have to add where we must make additions, so be it. Apparently, it appears the issue of adding other venues on top of the existing program, it's a little bit challenging, though the reasons are not just forthcoming clearly. What could be the handicap? Let me start with the Northern Cape. It is true that the Northern Cape was actually, as Honorable Matlhatsi has indicated, we were not that fair with the Northern Cape to leave it to 3, especially taking note of the sparsity of the area. So for us, out of 5 to add the 4th one, I basically see no wrong part in doing so. And I would therefore support Honorable Matlhatsi that with regard to Northern Cape, we add the 4th venue to cover the people of Northern Cape. They are scattered all over, and only to go to the 3 places or venues, it may not be that much cordial. Number 2 is the issue of Limpopo. It's just unfortunately what you call that the program was not so clear, but I had a glimpse of it in my email that the program we are talking about in Limpopo, it talks about 2 venues in Mopani, which was initially, in the beginning, Mopani was there, and the venue was Relela Community Hall. And last week, Mopani was not there. And then instead, Mama Ila came on the spotlight. And then after a long of debate, Relela was taken back also. I just want to put something as a motivation. I see they've tried to waiver their program there, but it is not clear. We can't read what is there. But my understanding, I'm on Mopani. Mopani, the initial position was Relela. Last week, when we met, it became Mamai. Then let me just try to motivate something which is taking place here. Maybe contrary to what the chair is saying. When you look at the 2 venues, let's go to the issue of capacity. Mamaila, it's a circuit office with a very small hall. The capacity is only 100. Given the regulation definition, it means in the hall, there will only be 50 people. Relela, it's a venue with a capacity of 500, which carries up to 500. And given the current regulations, it means the people in the hall will go as far as 250. That is with regard to the capacity. Number 2, centrality. You see, Mamaila is in the Letaba municipality. The very extreme pole, actually next to Toyando, and which means people from Palabura, for them to reach Mamaila, they must travel more than 200 kilometers. Whilst the Relela Community Hall is actually at the heart, it's in Zanini municipality, which is the center. People from Giani will not travel more than 100 k's. People from Palabura will not travel more than 100 k's. People from Letaba will not travel more than 100 k's. From Maruleni, they will travel less than 50 k's. So I would say when we come to the final decision to adopt, let us take the issue of the capacity and centrality into consideration. I hear what the chair has to say, but I don't think under these circumstances, truly speaking, it matters. I reside here, I stay here, I sleep in this place. I don't think that issue can even be a deterrent to the course of work that will be done. Thank you.
I will address the question of Limpopo. The question of Northern Cape, can we hear what the administration is saying? But I'm persuaded that maybe Northern Cape is vast. We should add another venue, so we shouldn't belabor that point. There was the question of the legal opinion, Dr. Melder. I think on the legal opinion, we agree that we will circulate it but the conclusion is that we should not actually make provision for accommodating people who have health challenges, but we can park that issue because it doesn't hold us back from moving forward. In case members read it and they feel otherwise, I think we can still deal with that matter, subject to advice from the health authorities. Now, if we say we are adding in the Northern Cape, I haven't heard anybody saying anything about Western Cape. I don't want to assume that.
Chair, my hand is up. It has been up for some time.
Yeah.
Mpabama.
Who's that?
Mpabama, my hand has been up for some time.
Yeah, Chair, it's Werner on. My hand was
we
also
agreed.
up.
No,
My
we
hand was
agreed
also up and I was
that
on the list.
I know. We agreed that I would be assisted with the hands. So please don't blame me. Yeah, but I was still just commenting on what has happened. Can we deal with what the questions that have been raised so that and then you can deal with those matters. You know, in Limpopo, there are two communities. One community is the Tsonga community. One community is the Balobedu community, which are at each other's throat. They have even taken themselves to court regarding the question of land. And our investigations and also the security information we have is that they are likely to use this opportunity to deal with their conflict. And if there is a community conflict, that is going to bring Parliament into disrepute. That's why we had to look for another alternative, which is Mamaila. And we also decided that we would communicate with the municipalities to transport the people. So the question of accessibility of the other areas would not be a problem. So that is the question, because we cannot have a situation where we go an area to an area and people start fighting when Parliament is there, because that will bring Parliament into disrepute. But let me take the other names. The other names, Honorable.
Who is the other names?
Next, Comrade Tandeka. Who is that?
It's Honorable Mbabama and Honorable
Honorable Mbabama and Honorable who?
Horn and Honorable Lesoma.
And Honorable Lesoma.
Yes.
And there was another one. And Honorable Horn.
Yes. Yes, Chair.
Okay, in that order.
Thank
Proceed,
you,
Honorable
Chair. Yes, thank you, Chair. I was just going to say that, you know, we must take lessons from the past. When we did the expropriation without compensation in Northern Cape, we covered the 3 venues and there were no returns. Nobody complained about it. So I don't see why we should be adding now. A precedent has been set. In the past, we did 3 for expropriation without compensation. I see no reason for us to add. That's all, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Lesoma.
My apology. Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, Chair, my apology for not unmuting. One, I think you have covered me in respect of the legal advice that it was specifically in relation to the people with comorbidities. Having said that, I'm tempted to also seems like I'm responding to Honorable, the last speaker. It's going to be very unfortunate that, unfortunately, some of us were not there in the last process. And this is a distinct, separate process. And if that was the case, we would have just done the cut and paste on what was done previously, then we would have done that. And there would be no need for the committee also to engage and adopt the program, because we'll say that we know what doing what we have done before. But nevertheless, Chair, I think for me, what Advocate Pallet have presented to us, I was going to be more comfortable to say, one, the issue of having 2 meetings in a day. The reasons from administrations that we have calculated the mileage, which is a scientific issue, the mileage that from venue A to B is going to be not going to be feasible because of these reasons and those reasons. I will tell you why, because it cannot be because of the resources of Parliament. I did check with the chairperson, chairs of chairs, to say, is there any prescribed budget allocation for public hearings? And the answer was that it depends on the program detail that will be presented or submitted by the committee, not administration. I just want to repeat, committee, relevant committee, not administration, because the process and the past people that are going to answerable in court when it's being challenged is the committee, not the administration. I just want to park there, which is unfortunate in what has been presented is not the case. But also in this term, in this process, in all other provinces, as a matter of principle, we had 4 venues. I don't want to go to district because the district issue is another issue. 4 venues. And I'm happy, Chair, that you are also acceding to allow us to have an additional venue based on the submission made by Honorable Motlatsi in terms of Northern Cape. That's one. 2, Chair, which I would like, which is my third point, by the way, is that as they come back, the administration to explain to us, I've checked the mobilization. There is nothing that is happening in terms of communication unit, in terms of community mobilization, because they would have advised us also in the presentation made by Advocate Pallet to say in terms of this venue that we as administration we have identified, capacity is X vis-a-vis the regulations of COVID-19 level 1, we can accommodate so much, as Honorable Moreta have said. And I don't see that one coming. And I'm saying for me to be persuaded otherwise, based on our previous meeting and what is being presented today, if they can be clinically and scientifically persuade us, not just because they felt like that, but as if somebody have advised them that just retain the status quo. And I don't think it becomes a program of the committee. It becomes a program of somebody that is sponsored to us. And I don't like sponsorships, unfortunately. And I'm saying if we can be clarified on that. And lastly, we're not running a referendum. We're running a public hearing that must be fair to all the provinces, as it were. Thank you very much, Chair.
I can see that we have 2 positions on Northern Cape. Let's hear from the Secretariat. What is your take on adding an additional venue in the Northern Cape, given the eloquent reasons that have been given?
Thank you, Chair. I had initially raised it with my colleague when we had a discussion that perhaps we should consider Pixley Kaseme district municipality, because it's more like in the central if you look at the map. But I was informed of the decision. It would have been better if Mr. Ramana was there, because he is the one who informed me that the decision was that we stick to the program as it was. But I would propose that if it's possible, because now we're looking at the time to do the logistics, but Pixley Kaseme district district municipality would have made things better, because it was going to draw in a couple of other, about 8 local municipalities. Thank you.
Honorable Mathadze. Honorable Mathadze.
Slalo, I'm with you.
I think personally, I'm persuaded if logistically we can add Pixley Sagagaseme, I have no problem. So can we agree that the Northern Cape, because of the vastness of the area and the fact that the people there are centrally affected by this question, that we request the Secretariat to add that and then we close that matter. Honorable Mbabama, I hope you are also persuaded we are not throwing this through your throat.
Majority.
Yeah, but we must persuade one another because this is a matter that all members of parliament should be able to go and explain, and no member should feel that we're throwing this down their throat. Thank you, but for your understanding. And I said to Honorable Murasetla that there are security challenges, and we cannot take parliament to a place where people are going to fight. So I don't know how we deal with that matter, but as the situation stands now, just last week, there are 2 tribal groups which had taken each other to court, and the tensions are very high. So the security people that we spoke to are saying that there's a likelihood that they are going to take their detentions into the venue and even defeat the purpose of the meeting. But otherwise, what Honorable Muraseta was saying about the capacity, that is persuading. That is persuading, but I know the hall in Mamaila, it takes 200, and we can have 2 sessions, 200 plus 200, rather than throw parliament into disrepute.
Honorable Chairperson.
Yeah,
Yes.
Chair, it's now Werner Horn. I think it's now my turn.
Honorable Horn, you know, I know you from justice. I never suppressed you, and
Yeah.
in my nature,
Well,
I don't suppress honorable members.
Yeah, that was not always my impression here, and I'm getting more or less the same. Yeah, Chair. Firstly, back to the legal opinion, and I want to say what has now transpired after the presentation is exactly why I feel with the Honourable Mulder that we should have it in hand before we take final decisions, because now the takeaway is, if I understand it correctly, is that the majority of the committee seems to feel that the legal opinion advised that we should not necessarily make special dispensation for people with comorbidities. That's not what I heard being presented. What I heard being presented is that there's other avenues available to the committee to accommodate those who do not feel that they are willing and able to go to venues. The legal opinion in its presentation made specific mention of virtual hearings as well. So I would once again urge that we get that before we take a final decision, to the effect that we proceed with doing it the same as before COVID, taking into account venue capacities. And while I am on venue capacities, I think what the legal opinion also, in my view, clearly said is that we must take into account the current regulations. And the current regulations, although it says 250 for indoor sessions, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can, if a hall can take 250 people, you can accommodate 250 people. as has been pointed out, there must still be the ability to adhere to social distancing. That's why, if I understand that the current regulations correctly, you will have to more or less have a hall of 500 people to accommodate 250. So, Chair, yes, I agree with, I think it was the Honorable Mahlatsi who made the point that ultimately we take responsibility. But for us to take responsible decisions in this regard, we must get a proper advice from our support staff as to what every venue will enable. And we must, in my view, seriously consider then inviting members of the public who feel, specifically in those 3 provinces, who feel that they will not be willing and able to go to a venue, to make input through other means. And then my last point, Chair, is this. This is an ad hoc committee looking into ultimately proposing an amendment of the Constitution. If I look at the program, the draft program as it stands now, it's the final 3 provinces for public hearings. Then there's sessions in Parliament which talks to looking at the reports, etc., etc. And then all of a sudden, if I understand the draft program correctly, we're going to settle on a draft amendment because of our timelines. Now, as the Honourable Mulder as I think indicated, yes, we have our timelines, and obviously it's our responsibility to try and finish this work within the timelines. But I don't think with something as serious as proposing an amendment to the Constitution, we can finalize this within those timelines. There's, for example, no space in the current program for crafting a first draft and then, for example, inviting, as is the process in respect of legislation, those people with specific expertise in the field to also appear at Parliament during a second type of public hearing, where we invite those with the specific type of expertise in this field to also advise this committee. And to my mind, that should also be accommodated. Otherwise, we could be at risk of not following a full and a proper process to give effect to our job. Thanks.
Honorable Hon, I think that you don't differ from those who say the legal opinion should not hold us back. We agreed that it must be circulated, and you have added that maybe we can consider other possibilities like virtual. So let's pack that issue and leave it to the Secretariat to see if after members have studied the legal opinion, they can accommodate a virtual presentation. So in short, we agree that in the Northern Cape, we shall add Pixley Kaseme, the secretary, to that one. And then with regard to the legal opinion, we will circulate it and members will then look at that. We don't necessarily have to have another meeting, because as you have seen this week, we were supposed to have met on Tuesday, but the Parliament program was so crowded that we were not even able to meet. So there's no way that we should not meet this deadline. And we are making a very important point that the report, we have to finalize the report. We must get the experts in Parliament. We must craft the new text, which must be debated. So we are under serious pressure to conclude this process. And I think Parliament was really very understanding to give this extension, and we cannot afford to mess it up. So I think that I can say, yeah, yes.
Before you close the meeting, Chair, is Honorable Batlat, I just want to raise a fundamental issue from your own presentation. One, you've just raised an issue about a venue that is not, that is small, that we will have 2 sessions. And I thought the members of your staff were saying it's not feasible, it's not possible, we can't have 2 sessions. So in a situation where the hall is small, I suggest that we find a new venue to ensure that we deal with the issue of having 2 sessions, because they raise issues of security and so forth and so on. Secondly, on the Ralela issue, Chair, you've raised an issue about security people fighting on the ground and so forth and so on. For your own, for the purposes of this meeting, I would want us to ask security to confirm this particular matter, so that the committee is not accused of raising issues here that might not necessarily might have deprived people of that particular area from participating in this process, so that tomorrow we cover ourselves as a committee that the reasons why we did not go to this particular area is because security has advised us as a committee on this matter. Thank you, Chair.
No, I agree with you, but as I said, the venue, I know it personally, can take 200, but we can look at another venue. There is a place called Skhosese, or we can go to Nkua, which will neutralize the tribal tensions that are there. So I will talk to the Secretariat about that. But all I was saying is that I know the place, I know people were in court, people are threatening to take up arms against one another because of the land issue, and we cannot consciously allow Parliament to be dragged into a violent confrontation of people. But I accept what you are saying. I will work with the Secretariat to make sure that we address that issue. But can we say, subject to those outstanding issues, the program proceed, and then we are starting in Limpopo on the 22nd, and then the program will be to you, and we move forward. Thank you very much.
Honorable Chair.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, my apology on this matter of Ralele and the rest. Fortunately, I'm not familiar with the places, but it would have been.
I know the area.
No, okay, may I continue, Chair? Yes, Chair, thank you very much. But I'll say there's a danger of having a verbal report that also deals with the crucial matters such as Section 25 amendment processes, because one would have had, if in any event security people who are responsible for that are here, they speak for themselves other than somebody else, then we engage. Because even myself, nothing stops me from this meeting to do my own homework. And it will be very much unfortunate if I get contrary information, as it were. But I'm not disputing what you are saying, because when we are from the informed basis, because you know the area, you are from that area. But I'm just saying that sometimes we must be very careful in the meeting, that where we take gospel truth as gospel truth in a verbal reporting, as it were. But unless they have given you that written report in terms of security issues and so forth. But also, Chair, the other very last point, when they deal with the issues of the venue, also the capacity vis-a-vis level 1, but also I would like to strongly advise that we don't use the venues or the venues which are in the wards where it's going to be by elections as well. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you for that.
Chairperson, can I say something before you close?
Yes.
Yes, Chairperson. I think the 2 speakers who have spoken before me, they have partially covered me. Number one, the fact that we are getting just an oral report about the matter of security may not be so convincing to this all important ad hoc committee. That's the first one. The second one is, can we say on the issue between Relela and Mamaila, it will have to be verified and be done administratively after we shall have got the authentic report, because I see a lot of subjectivity in it. It's just that I don't want to raise some of those things. But can you please respect the committee by coming up with the written proof from the security, which will assist us in this regard, even going forward? Thank you.
Okay, honorable members, I take your points. I've just said that where there are security problems, we cannot, even as the chair, I cannot consciously send a committee of parliament to a place where there's going to be violence. But I take your point, Honorable Murasaka and others, that we need confirmation, and I'll work with the secretariats to do that. So I'm saying that alternatively, if we cannot contain the question of security in Relele, there is Nkua and there is Skusese. And that. Thank you very much.
Chairperson, through you, if I may just say something on security. There are meetings that we are having with other units in Parliament that support the work of this committee. The last time we had invited them, Mr. Van der Spiel and the colleague, to come and maybe attend this meeting. They've raised some issues of security in line with the COVID-19 protocols, and it's gone. For example, the decision to hold, for example, 2 sessions. Why we say it will not be feasible, because they are requesting that they need at least about 2 hours to sweep. Yeah, in the morning.
I see.
Yeah, to sweep. So meaning a meeting will start at around 11. But there is also a unit, the Safety, Health and Environment unit. So they are the ones who will be responsible for allocating the seats and ensuring that there is that physical distancing. And when a person is spoken, they have to carry out certain measures to sanitize and to ensure that the place is suitable for another speaker. So with all that taken into account, we came to a decision that it will not be feasible to hold 2 sessions. But after this, there will be another. Yes.
No, thank you, Advocate, because you have really covered me. You have really covered me, because it's true that we had asked the security to be part of this meeting, so that members don't think that we are sucking stories out of our thumbs. But I think subject to what the committee is saying, we'll follow up on the other matters. But the decision of this meeting is that the public hearings are starting on the 22nd. We are proceeding because we have to meet the deadline. And thank you very much, honorable members, for your understanding and your contribution. The meeting is adjourned.
Siyabulela Sihlalo.
Ubulela mina mhlekazi wami.
Enkosi.
Kunjani mhlekazi wami?
Saphila no kaQondo kunjani?